We want to make sure that we have a plan in place so that if unexpected death occurs, well, the surviving family members can continue to move on and not have that plan disrupted at all. Same with cash flow optimization, tax strategies.
All right, guys. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Practical Wealth Show. And so today we're going to talk about legacy planning. You know, a lot of you guys have read. I get a lot of calls. You heard of what's that book called? What's Garrett's book, the What the Rockefellers Do, and everybody's hearing about trust and but there's an order to this thing, right? And so we want to talk about that. So we're going to simplify legacy planning. And I have the founder of a company called Legacy Lock, my good friend Court Pitcher. So Court, I want you to tell them about how you got into this. Tell me your story a little bit, and then let's get into and help these people with their legacy, their trust, and that kind of stuff. And get all they wanted to know, we're afraid to ask.
All right, sounds good, Curtis. It's great to be with you, and excited to share this with your clients, with your audience here. So so just a little background on me and what led to us creating Legacy Lock and our legacy planning process. Back in 2005, I had two good friends pass away unexpectedly in very tragic situations. They were separate incidences, but only about a month apart. And being close to both families, I observed some very interesting things. The first friend that passed away had not done any planning at all for him and his family. And so as a result of that, it left his wife in a challenging situation, and she had to, kind of navigate through some difficult financial and legal things. And it was just really, really hard on her. And my other friend that passed away shortly after was the exact opposite. He had been more proactive in planning for him and his family. And so, that because he did that, the way things played out for his wife and children was much different than my other friend's wife and children. So, that obviously inspired and motivated me to take action for me and my family. And I went and met with a good friend of mine that was in this business. And my wife and I sat down with him, told him what had happened with our friends. And we said, we haven't done anything. Where do we start? And that's where he introduced me to holistic planning, which we now call legacy planning. And I loved everything that he taught us, everything that we learned, and we were eager to implement those things. But one of the things that I, realized was, gosh, I really have a passion for this. And I realized I really want to help more people avoid what my one friend went through for having done no planning at all. And I want to help more people get on the path like my other friend and really help them in a significant way. And I also had a passion for, helping them plan in a way where it can impact future generations, which we'll probably talk more about here today. But ultimately, that led to me getting into the business. And again, I had a passion for the estate planning aspect of things, but I quickly realized that people, in my opinion, people weren't being served very well in this space. And it's not that in fact, I realized a lot of people wanted to get their estate planning done, but they weren't. There wasn't a great solution for the masses. And so me and my partners became determined to create a better solution that would allow us to serve the masses and serve more people all across the country. And that's what we've created with Legacy Lock.
That's awesome. Why does estate planning matter? Like a lot of people think like estate planning is for the ultra wealthy, right? Why is it essential for everyone, regardless of their net worth, in your opinion?
Great question. That is a great question, because a lot of people don't know that, why they need to get their estate planning done, why it's so important, why it matters, right? The reality is everyone has an estate plan, whether they know it or not.
Okay.
The question is do they have their plan outlined with their wishes, or do they want to just fall into the government's plan, which the government would love for them to just fall into that plan. And so we don't want that to happen for people. We want them to be able to create their own customized estate and legacy plan that designed to carry out their wishes, even once they pass away. But the reason that it matters, is number one, we want to make sure that their estate um, avoids the government, specifically the probate courts.
Right.
So if they don't have the proper documents in place, if they don't do what needs to be done with their assets, then they're at risk of their estate or assets in their estate going through the probate courts when they pass away. And that just makes things so much harder on, the family members that they leave behind. So we want to help them avoid that. We also provide documents that are critical if they become incapacitated. So we provide like a financial power of attorney so that they can appoint someone to handle their finances if they're in a situation where they're unable to do so. We
Hmm.
also provide a healthcare power of attorney if they're incapacitated, and they can appoint someone to make healthcare decisions in their behalf if they're unable to do so themselves. So there's a number of reasons why it's important, why it matters. Those are some of the big reasons. I'll also mention guardianship for minor children. So any families that have minor children, very, very important, to put in place guardianship in case something happens, to mom and dad.
Right.
Then they want to make sure that they're choosing um, who their kids would go to and be with and receive care. Also, special needs children. So, any families that have children with special needs, whether they're minors or adults, we want to make sure that we put in place um, good special needs provisions to help them and plan properly for them. So, there's a lot of reasons why it matters, but those are some of the key reasons why.
That what are some mistakes you see made out there? So what are some of the maybe a few of the biggest mistakes people make when it comes to planning, and how can they afford them? I have a couple of questions like jumbled together. I'm trying to slow down and sort them out. But what are the mistakes they make?
Biggest mistake is procrastination,
Hmm.
putting it off, thinking, oh, we'll get to it down the road. And we're all busy. Our lives are very, very busy. Our lives are probably busier than they've ever been. And so it's just easy to kind of put it off, procrastinate it. But in some cases, that could become a detrimental thing. For example, my my friend that passed away and hadn't done any planning. So you just never know when things like that can hit, and then all of a sudden you're in a tough situation. So procrastination. Um, Other mistakes is just not getting the proper education and understanding what the different documents are designed to do for you. So, getting proper education, but also making sure that you're working with someone that will take you through a complete process and make sure that everything gets done properly. That's one of the things that I noticed early on when I got into this business is that, a lot of attorneys and firms and other companies, they would only do so much for the client, and then kind of put more of the work on the shoulders of the client to get it done. And oftentimes the client was like, well, I don't even know what I need to do. What do I do? And so they wouldn't do it out of ignorance. And oftentimes that still, because that left things undone, it just it just left them in a difficult situation. So making sure that you work with someone that's going to really hold your hand and help make sure everything gets done properly is very important.
So yes, because what I've seen is it's not buttoned up. It's not done. I like with our relationship with Legacy Lock, we're going to we work together to make sure it's funded. I want you to explain to them what funded means, right? Because there are people. Where was I? I was on IG or something where the and I'm Chadwick Boseman from Black Panther. He
Oh
had
yeah.
a trust, but I don't think it was funded.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
I
a
think you're
couple
right.
people like that just some they didn't finish. They
Right.
didn't move the beneficiaries of their insurance if they had it. They didn't talk about that because that's one of the big things because they're like, oh, I saw where I could get it on from such and such for $500. And quickytrust.com, but it's not integrated. You're not working with a team to help make sure your whole situations button up and coordinated. They're making a bunch of uncoordinated actions. Talk,
Right.
talk to them about that because that's one of the things when we met that I started to understand that okay, like I need to bring this into what we're doing with clients. How do you do that, and why is that important? And actually, what does it mean to when I say it's finished or funded?
Right. Okay. Yeah. So in going through our process, there's three key steps that we take people through to make sure everything gets done properly. The first thing is we help them get their customized estate documents set up according to their desires and objectives.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, we take a proactive role in helping them and guiding them through the funding process. Now, people ask me all the time, they'll say, well, what does funding mean? And it's just legal jargon that means to move or transfer. So I like to usually explain it with a simple visual. I'll say to people, once we have your documents in place, meaning that they've been signed, witnessed, and notarized, that's kind of like going out and setting up a safe, right? So let's say you go buy a safe, you put it in your house with the intent to put valuable things in it so that those valuable things are protected, right? That's what the trust is kind of functions like, is like an empty safe. But it does no good unless you transfer or move or fund assets into the trust or into the safe. So we help guide the client through funding their assets. So we help them with their real estate. We make sure that the deed work that needs to be done for that is done properly, and we make sure that that real estate gets transferred into the trust. We provide instructions on what they need to do with their bank accounts and how to properly structure those in the trust, how to structure their life insurance. Usually that means we're adding the trust as a beneficiary on the life insurance.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about what to do with their retirement accounts, their businesses, their vehicles, all those things. But it's very, very important that that's done and done properly so that when they pass away, none of those things have to go through the probate courts.
Okay, that's major. See, so
That's
that's what's got to get done. So it's not, oh, I want to set up a trust. Well, do you have any? I was talking to somebody yesterday, like, you have any insurance? Well, no. Well, okay. Well, how are you going to fund the trust?
yeah, yeah, yes, that is
You
a
don't have
very,
a house yet. Like, what are we doing?
yeah, exactly.
Can't get
Yeah,
your financial planning from TikTok. Let me just to say that. So only, right? So,
yeah. Yeah, that is very, very important. And like I said before, I noticed, 20 years ago when I got into this business, that was something that a lot of people weren't completing that step
right.
unless they were willing to pay an additional fee to the attorney to get it done. And oftentimes they didn't want to do that either. So, yeah.
So let me. I'm gonna get a little granular. So wills versus a trust? What's the difference? People think, well, I got a will. Do I really need a trust? I didn't even know the answer to this till about a year and a half ago. What is there? Is it either or both? And what do they do?
Yeah, great question. That's a question that comes up a lot, and most people don't know the difference, and they don't know why they would need one or the other or both,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So, um, there is a difference between a will and a trust, certainly. A will is a document where they, basically list out their wishes, their desires, but it does
Hmm.
not take effect until death occurs.
Mm.
And the most important part to understand about a will is it does not help, in most cases, it does not help them avoid probate. So that's where the trust is critical. It's important to have a trust because a trust takes effect the moment that the documents are executed. That's why it's oftentimes referred to as a living trust. It's a living entity and contract that they have that does allow them to avoid probate because you can fund assets into a trust. You can't fund assets into a will.
Okay.
So
Hmm.
with our service, with our legacy lock documents, we actually provide both. We provide a last will and testament, a pour over will, a living will. All those important documents are in there. But we also provide the trust so that they can fund assets into the trust and protect those assets from probate.
Awesome. So, what would you say the role of trust are in wealth protection? So, how does a properly structured trust help families maintain? Because people, what they want to do, of course, I want to create a legacy, right? Multi generational legacy. So, how does that help generational wealth? And what are some of the key things people should consider when they're setting it up, if that's their objective, which should be the objective,
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. So the as I mentioned before, there's 3 steps in our process. Set up the documents, make sure the funding gets done properly.
hmm.
Third step is what we call asset protection and optimization. And that's where someone like yourself, Curtis, and other wealth strategists and advisors that we work with, that's where your expertise comes in, right? The trust itself provides protection from probate, protection if, again, as I mentioned before, if they have minor children and
Hmm.
they pass away, then they put in protections to make sure those children are properly cared for by whoever they choose, right?
Hmm.
So there's protections in that regard. There's other types of trusts too that can provide additional protections, but what we do is mostly revocable living trusts. So those are some of the key protections that are basic protections there. But in that third step, asset protection and optimization, that's where we get into conversations about how to protect all their assets if something were to happen, like say they get in a car accident and there's some serious liability involved and they get sued. Well, we want to make sure that they implement strategies that protect all their assets, their entire estate. And those are strategies that you and I have learned over the years, and we know how to educate people on those and help them implement those strategies. We want to make sure that we address, disability or some type of long-term care event, and make sure that there's strategies and plans in place to help protect that so that it doesn't erode their wealth. That's one thing that can erode wealth faster than anything is, some type of catastrophic health event.
Yes.
We want to talk about, unexpected death, like what happened with my friends. We want to make sure that we have a plan in place so that if unexpected death occurs, well, the surviving family members can continue to move on and not have that plan disrupted at all. Same with cash flow optimization, tax strategies. All of our clients love to talk about tax strategies and how to mitigate taxes And in doing so, as we mitigate those taxes, how can we move those dollars into a way that creates a greater legacy for the family? um, how to mitigate market risk and market volatility. Those are all kind of typical things that we get into with clients and address with them and help them implement strategies to optimize that.
And so that's again us collaborating on legacy, or what I'll call holistic planning. So it's not just getting this one piece done. You want to look, as we call it, being the macro manager. And so we both have a background in training with what does he say? It says your plan has to work no matter what.
No matter what, no matter what circumstances. Yeah.
You can't only have a plan that works when the sun is out. Right? Markets are up, interest rates are good. That's what I mean by the sun. Like, stuff happens. You die, you get sick, you get sued, you get laid off. What if you or didn't believe in the principle we teach of maximum protection, and you were in California right now?
Right.
As we record this, the fires in California, or Florida, where sometimes they don't even renewing their insurance. How do you protect this $5 million asset, and you don't have a way to replace this stuff, because
Yeah.
insurance is to indemnify you, right? That kind of stuff. Like, it's all of those conversations that need to be had, I think, to make sure that you've got a good. And how often should they review this? Like, is this a one-off and it's done now? We don't need to look at it anymore. Is that how it works?
Yes, I think they should review it annually,
Annually. Okay.
at least once a year. My wife and I sit down at the, usually at the beginning or at the end or the beginning of each year, and we just kind of review things and see if there's any changes or updates we need to make. And that's one of the valuable things about our service is we provide unlimited changes and updates for our clients for the rest of their life at a very, very low cost. So I think they should review it up and at least annually. And if they need to make any updates or changes, then we can help them do that. So, but yeah, back to what you were saying before, Curtis, that's where we collaborate. And that's really where we make the biggest impact and the biggest difference for people is we're not only just helping them get their estate documents in place, we're providing a full legacy plan. And as an extension of your practice and your team, as a partner with you, we help with the estate planning component. But the value of the clients working with you is you're gonna bring the plan to life and help them implement some very, very important things, which most people don't get when all they're doing is just the estate documents.
Yes, exactly. That's one of the reasons I wanted to partner with you guys. What to, let's I want to break this down into two components. So, legacy planning for business owners, and then I also work a lot with like real estate investors. And I think I don't know that they have these type of things in place. Can you speak to those, and how we help get that conversation started, and kind of help them?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we work with a lot of business owners too, and real estate investors. Um, and what I have found over the years in working with business owners and real estate investors,
Which are really the same thing. Sometimes I'm trying to get
really
you to
are,
understand
yeah,
that, if you're a real estate investor, you are a business owner. Just,
right, right, right.
all right. So,
Is there, there's, they have this, most of them kind of are set up where they almost look at things like their personal or family things, and then there's the business. Like, in a way, they're kind of separated in their mind. When we come through and do legacy planning, then we're able to help them kind of organize everything and see how they coordinate and integrate together, and make sure that that we're structuring things in a way where everything passes on the way that they want. Um, so business owners really love working with us because it's for the first time ever, they feel like they're finally organizing things and coordinating things and addressing things that are very important to them for the benefit of their family, but also for the future success of their businesses.
mm-hmm.
Um, Real estate investors, Gosh, very important, because if they own a lot of different properties and things like that, we got to make sure that those properties are protected and that they don't go through probate when they pass away. And those are assets that they usually want to pass on to their heirs, right? So
Right.
we need to make sure that that's all addressed and taken care of in the right way.
That's good stuff. Anything This is my catch-all cord to make sure I didn't forget anything. Anything I should have asked you that I didn't ask you, or something you want to leave us with some parting words of wisdom.
No, these were great questions. You really covered all the key things. I would just say, in addition to what we've discussed, um, you brought up earlier the book, "What Would the Rockefellers Do?" And Garrett Gunderson and Michael Isom just updated that book, with it. There was a new release with that, and I was able to write a forward in that. But some of the things that they talk about in there are things like doing a family constitution
Mm-hmm.
or a family mission statement. Some of the things that, again, a lot of attorneys, a lot of law firms don't even talk about. And we Garrett and I recently, did a podcast together, and we were talking about how a lot of business owners, they'll do a mission statement, they'll put together a vision for the business, but we don't we tend to not do that with our own families.
Right.
So putting in place like a family constitution and a family mission statement and family values and things like that, that's where things get even more powerful, and we can bring the whole thing to life because it creates purpose for the family.
Right.
And then making sure that those things are taught and to our children and our grandchildren. That's the key to creating lasting generational wealth. Is not only putting those things together, but educating and teaching our children and our grandchildren, how to really create wealth and make it last.
See, because that's the thing. It's like I call it cord. You made me think of another thing, so we're not done just yet.
Yeah.
But the creating I call it, you want to create a legacy of wealth and wisdom, or really wisdom
Yes.
and wealth. So what are you doing to teach them? This is the family constitution part. Like, what are the charities that are important to us? Are you getting together quarterly for family meetings? Are you playing cash flow once a month? Are you,
Yeah.
if you're, we teach like permanent infinite banking with permanent insurance, see, because the insurance funds the trust. But I've seen people get $1 million death claims directly and go through the money in 2 years.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, that's the whole point of what would the Rockefellers do is, in there Garrett talks about the Vanderbilt empire and what happened with that, and the difference between how things were structured with the Vanderbilts versus the Rockefellers. And the Rockefellers did things in a way where they've been able to perpetuate their wealth from generation to generation to generation. I mean, it's really gone on for a long time. And it's all because they structured things the right way and they passed on the wisdom. They taught the children and grandchildren what wealth really is, and how to, what it's intended for. It's a stewardship,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so that's where it gets really fun, in my opinion, is to be able to have these conversations and help families put in place these additional things, which we're going to be making those available with the clients that work with us, because of the relationship and partnership with Garrett and Michael. We're going to be able to help, because of AI.
Yeah.
We can actually help people put a family constitution together in 20 minutes.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome.
So
I think that because you like, out people ask me what I want to generate so how can I make sure my children's children, this trust encompasses that. This is a specific person. When I send this her, I'm asking the question she asked me. And then one of the things in the waterfall, they make, to continue the funding, right?
Right.
They all get insurance policies, and the trust becomes the beneficiary. Can you like shed some light on that? That I mean, I think I cut you off for something else. So finish your thought, but you
Oh
know,
no, I finished. I
okay.
finished. Yeah. So when we're helping them with the funding of their assets, life insurance is for most people, a thing that they need to have as a part of their plan. And if they really want to create generational wealth, there's nothing better than life insurance, properly designed life insurance that can help make that happen. And so usually when we're funding life insurance into the trust, typically we'll name the spouse as the primary beneficiary,
Hmm.
the trust as the contingent beneficiary, and then the trust is a written contract that then stipulates what they want to have happen with those assets, right? But then if you add like the family constitution to that, that's where the family constitution is going to outline the family values and the principles and things that are very important to that family, the wisdom, as you said,
Yeah.
they want to pass on to children and grandchildren. And again, the life insurance just becomes a tool to help perpetuate those values and principles that they want to carry on from generation to generation.
That is phenomenal. All right, so listen, we're going to put a link to my legacy lock in the show, and we're because what I want to do is make sure that we kind of guide you through this process together, right? Rather than just like random acts of personal finance. We need to we need a coordinated result. But wow, this has been great because what I was trying to do, Crow, all the questions I get, I'm trying to give to you so I can
I'm glad. I'm glad
I can stay in my lane. So
you fired some great questions at me, and I think we covered a lot of good things. This has been fun.
yeah, yeah. So guys, thank you. I hope this will help a lot of you going into uh really wherever you're listening to this. I want to make this evergreen, but you know, you're always uh you know we call it, we meet with our people every 3 months, we call it calibration, because a plane is off course most of the time when it takes off, so you always have to be adjusting your navigation to keep where you're going. So this is where the holistic planning comes in. You got to look at it and make sure, because life changes every day, right? So it's nothing like if you somebody creates for you like a financial plan, it's wrong from the time you print it out, from the time the ink dries, is wrong. Okay, because it's just a moment in time. So it's kind of a ever-flowing thing, and Court and I believe that, and what we want to do is be able to give you some guardrails. And Court, Pitcher, thank you for joining us on the Practical Wealth Show and
Oh, you're welcome.
enlightening our listeners.
You're welcome. What an honor and a pleasure to always an honor and a pleasure to be with you, Curtis, and
Well, of
to be
course.
able to take
No,
this out to your clients and your audience. I hope it'll be valuable to them.
yes, because our goal is we want to create multi-generational wealth. Okay. And and increase financial literacy, and then keeping that passed on. So every generation, you don't have to start out broke. Okay. You don't have to. GoFundMe is not a good plan. All right. I'm just saying. So you need that means you're trifling. All right. So you want to, every generation you want to get better, you want to get more knowledgeable. And as I think Vanderbilt said it, but they didn't do it. But what do you say? Keep the money together.
Yeah. Vanderbilt set up more of a divide and dump type structure, which is kind of the traditional way of doing it. Rockefellers did took a completely different approach, where they set up trusts and set up a family office and a family bank, and the wealth that the family created could then be lent out to family members, and
Right.
then the family members would take those loans and put it to work to create value, and then everything would come back into the family office or in the family bank or into the trust, so that's what made it so that things could be perpetuated.
That's what we're trying to do here, between both our companies. But that's the goal of Practical Wealth. And so you got to learn it. You got to work on your mindset, skill set, network. right, and systems. And so that's what we're doing. So, if this intrigues you guys, reach out to us. There'll be a link in the show notes, and we can get you started on this path to either legacy planning, uh, which is encompassing all of this. So it's just like a moving parade. We're going to get you started and walk you through it, and then we're going to check on you
That's right.
very on the regular. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's good. So, guys, have a great day. Court, thank you again.
Thank
And
you.
go out there and be prosperous, everybody.